bit of background. I primarily drift. I compete in Lonestar Drift's Texas Street Legal Series in my Nissan 350Z. So primarily I use the Camas wheelbase on Assetto Corsa with, of course, all the mods and content manager. Anything from Gravy Garage cars to VDC and really all the other car packs. Alright, so here's my review of the Cammus 15 Nm wheelbase. It is direct drive. It's got several buttons on the front of it, which makes it nice and convenient. No need for a button box. So prior to this Cammus wheelbase, I actually was running a Thrustmaster T300 for a little bit about over a year. This Camas is a huge upgrade. It's so smooth. It runs nice, doesn't get hot, and I've been able to essentially customize and tune it to my liking, either in the mobile app on my phone or on the app on the PC. So there's quite a couple options as far as tuning goes. The preset option for drifting within the mobile app is actually really good. So that's typically what I run most of the time. Now, I'll be honest, I was looking at other options before I did end up getting the deal with Camas. The reason for that is I really hadn't seen anybody that I knew have a Camas wheelbase. I didn't know of anybody that had really drifted in real life and then drifted on the Camas that had a good comparison for it. So fortunately, Camas was nice enough to send this out to me as part of a sponsorship deal. So I did get this for free. But that being said, it is something that I would actually be willing to pay for, especially with all those other options out there. This is one of the most affordable options that puts out this amount of power. It does have some hefty weight to it, so you do need to mount it to something solid. I did want to spend some time with this wheelbase before I did any kind of video or any kind of review. I didn't want to just take it out of the box, do a couple laps, throw it on YouTube and say, hey, this is great. When I hadn't really used it. So I have been using it now for about 4 or 5 months consistently. So I'm on the sim 3 or 4 times a week, give or take. Most of the time that's drifting in Assetto Corsa. After all that usage, it's still as good as the day I got it, essentially. No issues with it whatsoever. All the buttons still work. I've mapped them to several different things, preset to pits, the horns, lights, I mean, whatever you want, all the different effects on the mods in Assetto, you can essentially map it to anything. Now, as far as how this translates to real life, I will say it's pretty close. Obviously, sim is never going to be a one-to-one unless you have a crazy setup with the motion rig, VR, and all the crazy things that come along with it. But it is pretty damn close. As far as the tandem on Assetto, as you can see, I mean, this thing is amazing. I run the Camas wheelbase with Fanatec pedals. I also have an Amazon e-brake and an Amazon shifter with an Oculus headset. So it's not a super expensive setup that you have to go and piece together for 4 or 5 grand. This is something that you can pair it with whatever pedals or shifter handbrake that you have, and it's going to work, and it's going to work great. Of course, it plugs in directly to your PC via USB. Now, if you do have Camas pedals or accessories, such as their emergency stop button, those can plug in directly to the back of the wheelbase. But otherwise, you can plug it in directly into a USB, so you can use it with any pedals, any shifter, any handbrake, any combination that you essentially want, which is nice. I will say you can feel all of the details in this wheelbase. I mean, you can feel the road, you can feel the curbs, you can feel hits in tandem. I mean, you can feel it all. Now, some of the feedback on the Camas wheelbases are that you don't feel as many details as maybe some of the other wheelbases out there. But at the same time, I mean, you may or may not, it's all personal preference. But when you're looking at it based on price, this for the price is definitely way more affordable, way more accessible than some of those other wheelbases out there that are going to give you those finer details. But at the end of the day as well, like if you're just using this for drifting, which I primarily do, this is going to be way more than enough, way more than you'll ever need. Of course, that being that 15 Newton meter strength, that kind of sets you up for other types of racing, such as iRacing, as you can see here as well. I use this a little bit for iRacing. I'm still trying to figure that out as far as how to actually drive those cars in that game, so I'm not the best at it. But as far as the feel goes, it's crazy, especially when you turn up the force feedback. If you get wrecked into, you better let go of the steering wheel because it will rip your hands off. And I've had a couple of close calls on that already. Now, I know a lot of people may be on the fence about what to get with all the other options out there at a similar price point. I mean, at this point, you can't really go wrong one way or the other. But if you are looking to do a little bit more than just drifting, if you want to try iRacing, if you want to try other forms of racing like rally, I definitely would recommend the Camas over some of those other wheelbases simply because it's got the extra force feedback. That's something that you may not ever fully need, but it's nice to have. That, as well as all the buttons on the wheelbase, make it way more convenient than having to get a different button box. So, I mean, the size, of course, is a factor. It is a little bit bigger than some of those other compact wheelbases. But that being said, it does run amazing. And all the buttons on there, super convenient, super helpful. The buttons on the steering wheel, of course, are also nice. So they're developing more steering wheel options. You got the quick release. You can stick an NRG hub on there and just essentially stick any wheel. So I use an NRG sim wheel. That's what I had prior with my Thrustmaster. So I just carried that over to this with just a generic quick release from eBay. And then I do use the Camas quick release with the GT1 steering wheel. And that, of course, I can switch between wheels within a few seconds. Now, I am curious to see what it's going to look like long term, how, durable these buttons are, if they're still good in a year. If not, how good the support is after that. But, I mean, all in all, everything's been working fine, if not more than fine. It's been great. I have zero complaints, so I'm looking forward to testing this out further. But in the future, we're going to be doing some more videos, a lot more tandem videos, a lot more videos on just prepping for real drift events and seeing how the Camas wheelbase can help me prep for those real drift events, running those same tracks, what the results of those events are, running actual comps in Assetto Corsa using the Camas wheelbase. So I do try to stay fresh as far as like the comp mindset goes. So I do like to do comps in Assetto. For some reason, those are more nerve-wracking than real competition sometimes. So it is nice to kind of get that feeling, that comp setting in Assetto Corsa, and then translating that to real life. For me personally, it does help. It may not help for everybody, but that's just how my mind functions. But yeah, I mean, more to come in the future. So far, so good. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the long-term results are, and stay tuned for more.